Yay, it's Friday. Happy Friday, everybody. It's Friday, August 21st, and welcome to the Ham Radio Outlet Shack Chat. For those of you that are logging in after the fact, thanks so much for choosing to watch our show. We appreciate your support, whether you're here live or after the fact. We have had our first friends are here. There's Michael, who is one of our regulars, and Enrique is here, and Virgil from the Cape. Yay. Hi, guys. Nice to see you here. Well, again, this is the Ham Radio Outlet Shack Chat. Welcome to my shack here in Sundance, Wyoming. I am your host, Katie, WY7YL. And good morning to you, Ben, down there in Colorado, in Allen. Oh, there's Todd out in Wisconsin, and Alan out in, I think, Alan, you're Massachusetts, I believe, if I remember correctly. And there's Michael. Yay. Hi, Michael. And let's see. Oh, Ray didn't say anything, but Ray is here. Hi, Ray. We had a lot of great feedback from last week's show when Ray Novak and 9JA from ICOM America joined us. We talked about the new radios coming out, and it's a lot of fun. So so you can go back and check out any of our shows in the past. Don't forget, on YouTube or Facebook. So no matter where you're joining us from, welcome to our friends. You guys are great. Look at this crowd showing up. And wow, India, there's our DX showing up, and Kevin up in Northern California. Wyoming is pretty smoky right now, and I don't know if you guys can see it or hear it in my voice, but we've got so much smoke from the California wildfires that it's affecting a lot of us out here. I've got like a really red and inflamed eye and a sore throat, and say, gosh, I can't seem to win this summer either, where one thing or the other. But there is, from Motown. Well, hello there. And Jim, hi, Jim. Good to see you here today. And Tom's here from Massachusetts, and Rick's in Missouri. Wow, what a great crowd. I'm going to get through the list here real quick and we'll get started. And Bangladesh. Wow, super cool. Hi, Kelly. There's one of my YLs. And there's Mike. Hi, Mike. Good to see you here. Well, Ray said it was a GIF. He was trying to say hello, but it didn't show up. So hi, Ray, again. And there's Joe. Hi, Joe. Good to see you here from Washington. And Bruce is here. Wow, what a great crowd. Holy cow, yay. So welcome, everybody. Again, you are here watching the Ham Radio Outlet Shack Chat if you're watching live on YouTube or Facebook. And especially for those of you guys on Facebook, we really appreciate if you give us a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. And, of course, share with your friends. And of course, on Facebook, we have our YouTube. We have our Facebook group, the Ham Shack, our Shack Chat group. I'm losing my mind this morning. I'm so excited to see all the friends here showing up. So Normandy, wow. And Maryland. Okay, so I'm excited today because I thought I'd do something a little bit fun and different. And I have brought in a guest today, my friend Don Arnold, W6GPS. And Don is someone I've known for a bunch of years now. Always see him at, different ham fests and things. And of course, he's been on YouTube for about 10 years. And I like to think of Don kind of as as an Elmer extraordinaire, because he has so many different interests that he has. And when he shares them on his videos on YouTube, they're really easy to follow and understand. And if you ever look at the comments, that's exactly what people think. So I'm going to, let me just... Sorry, one quick second. I wanted to fix my banner in, and then I lost Don for a second. So,
sorry about that.
So there he is. Yay,
yeah, here I am.
Welcome to the show, Don. So glad to have you join us here on Shack Chat today.
Hey, Katie, and hello everybody out there. And all I want to say is I miss coming to the Ham Fest, and I guess we're just going to have to do it virtual.
Yep, that seems to be. And of course, the QSO Today virtual show that happened a couple of weeks back seemed to have been a huge success. And I know that they're going to do it again in the spring. And earlier this week on the Amateur Radio Roundtable, which I helped co-host on W5KUB.com, we had Michael and Mike from Orlando Hamcation. And they're making their plans, hopefully fingers crossed. Well, everything will still be able to go forward. And, but it was good to hear. Oh, there's a fan of yours already, Don. W8VIP. Great. And Wayne also says hello. So Wayne's one of our regulars here on YouTube. Let me just double check if we had any questions. So today, we kind of wanted to make a fun time to, as if we're hanging. I call this today's show like a, shack chat, rag chew, because as I mentioned at the beginning, Don has a variety of different interests, and particularly when he's using the Kenwood DH74 and like the Zoom Spot hotspots. It's amazing the things he's been doing. And a couple of weeks ago, I was going to have Don join us on the show, and unfortunately, due to a family emergency on his side, he had to postpone. And fortunately, family is doing better, and
he's actually my brother. It's my foster brother down in Shreveport.
right.
And he had COVID. He was also a leukemia survivor, so he was in a high risk. He called me twice to say goodbye, and thank the Lord, he is actually going home today. So I'm very, very happy today. A couple of weeks ago, it was just depressing. So anyway, I'm all back. I'm all fired up, and we're all ready to go. And I do appreciate those that prayed for my brother Steve down there in Shreveport, and he lives way out. He's a country bumpkin, so down there in the big city of Belmont. If anybody knows where Belmont is,
yeah. Oh,
it's
my
right
gosh.
it's right next to Bug Tussle.
Okay. Both of those town names are definitely on the top of my head here.
I just want to say just real quick, just a little bit about myself, because, but I was back in 1976 when I was going to college. They wanted to start a ham radio station, and they put that on me. I wasn't even a ham, so I ended up going from Lynchburg, Virginia, to Norfolk 3 times to get the license. The second time I went, I missed it by one question. It was a long 4-hour drive back, but I did make it. I did get my ham radio license. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to help missionaries that were going to school there, to talk to their parents and things like that were overseas. And that was kind of my spirit of helping people out. And that's carried me through. And then in 1981, I went into the Air Force. I was in special operations. When I was getting classified, I went in as open electronics, and they said, "Do you know anything that we don't need to teach you?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm a ham radio operator. I know Morse code at about 15 words per minute." And they were doing everything to get me to be what they call a diddy bop. And I said, "No, I don't think that's interesting." So anyway, I ended up in Hurlburt Field in Florida, and carried my ham radio stuff with me, and I worked radios on planes, so every now and then I got to dial up do a phone patch from a C-130, and anyway, but they always call me the hamster, and so that's so I always had that kind of attitude of helping people and service to my country, and the electronics background. So.
And you had told me that you were able to, when you were serving in the Air Force, you were kind of all over the world, weren't you? And doing a variety of different things.
Well, what we did is we were the head of the spear as far as the Air Force is concerned, and we always got new technologies. And so we thought this was really cool about getting a satellite receiver that received a time reference stamp, because the radios we used back then, and I'm sure they still have them now, they frequency hop. And so we just thought it was great that we could get down to 60 feet with a military satellite to where we were located. And that was like 1982 or 83. But because I was the guy in the HF, some guys showed up from a company called iRing out of Utah. And it was basically an HF antenna that you throw on the ground and you transmit. And so I tested that for them. I'm calling all over to these big military stations, and I said, "Hey, wait a minute! It's a 4-star general and some other guys that only have blood types on their chest. You don't know who their names are, and they got beards." And so anyway, I said, "Look, we could talk to all these big stations, so let's just dial down." It was a little 50-watt cubic radio, and I was able to dial down into the ham radio bands. Talk on HF all over South America on 15 meters. And these generals were impressed. So it was, I was just an E3 little guy showing what the HF capability of this antenna. And so on that recommendation, they bought them. And then, of course, when Desert Storm 1 happened in 91 and 92, they were talking about the special operations guy in the spider holes. It was that antenna that I tested. That's what they were using. Anyway, so.
Wow.
So that's my big contribution.
That's pretty cool. So I mean, when you said you put it on the ground, I mean, like literally the antenna was just laying there on the ground?
Just basically, it was like two V's shaped like this,
Okay.
and it had a toroidal. I know it was just given a 50 ohm reference, but it actually worked pretty good. And so,
Wow.
and
That's cool.
I'd give anything to have one of those I-ring antennas. They used to sell a commercial version for hams, and then the company went under, but it still worked. And that was kind of like my big, when they were telling all these news things, I was grinning because I knew exactly what they were using. But anyway, I
That's
was
cool.
fascinated with that. And we also were one of the first assets to get Navy SATCOM. That's in the
Oh,
UHF band, UHF FM. And of course, it's all encrypted and all that kind of stuff. And so we got
right.
to play around with that. So I've always, fortunately, I ended up in an assignment where it was new stuff that you got to play around with. So,
Wow.
so, so anyway, so when I left the Air Force, I came to Chattanooga, and that's where I ended up, doing the Outbacker antenna and the AvMap, and now I help Kenwood, and I kind of promo their handy talkies and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So anyway, but I'm a happy camper. It's just this whole COVID thing. It is depressing if you sit around, but I get to have fun, play with my little ham shack, which is
Right.
basically a couple of handy talkies and play satellite. So that's where I kind of got into that. But anyway,
Right.
what we were going to talk about a
Yeah.
couple of weeks ago is we were going to talk about zoom spots, and because I kind of played around with those, and I do have one here, and this one is this is a duplex one, and I'll just key it up real quick, and basically if you're looking for a hotspot, I recommend the Zoom Spot Duplex, because you can actually, if there's a big lengthy QSO going on, because it does have a separate receiver in there, you can actually QSY. And some of you that have the
Oh,
standard simplex version
right.
knows that you have to wait. But if money is no object, and you want the Cadillac, I would say get an open spot. What's great about an open spot is you can transcode. It does have a built-in battery. I do have here on my iPad. What you can do is it's a simple thing that you can go in here and basically set your things, set this up to where it can do cross modes.
Right.
And so that is but it's about like twice as much. And I do have my
Right.
D74 right here,
Great.
and I've got it set up on both of them. So anyway, as far as hotspots go, it is a kind of a nice thing to have. I do a lot of traveling, and I'm able
Right.
to take my D-Star radio with me and be able to access it, of course, with an access point. So
Neat.
that was kind of one thing that I kind of really got into.
Yeah.
I love D-Star. I love talking on D-Star because D-Star was created for ham radio. I'm
Right.
not downing DMR or any of the other modes. They
Sure.
just have a different personality to it. But
Mm.
I find with D-Star, it's very, very user friendly. What people like about DMR is you can get cheapo radios and they somewhat work, but I prefer to get a nice radio and talk D-Star, because D-Star was made for ham radio.
Right. Well, I'm sure Ray is appreciating the plug for D-Star right now, but I think what's kind of neat though is you're with the D74 is you're able to use the D-Star, and even though that's a Kenwood radio, it still has access to the D-Star and
D-Star,
DMR, is it?
no, it isn't.
Oh,
But you can with an open spot. You
that's right.
can with the
And the
open
Zoom
spot.
spot too. Right.
Zoom Spot does not have DMR
Oh, to
to
D-Star, right.
the D-Star, but it
Right,
does
but I
have a
believe there
couple.
were
There
right.
is some cross moding. I honestly prefer just to stay on D-Star, and I used, I've got, like I said, I've got the open spot, and the open spot does work good.
Right.
But honestly and truthfully, I probably 90% of my time am on D-Star. You can cross mode it to DMR, and you can talk back and forth DMR with the open spot, and you can do minimum cross moding with a Zum spot. But honestly and truthfully, if you're just getting into digital radio and you're looking to make an investment, the Zum spot, all the Zum spots are good and they're easy to use. I've got tutorials on my YouTube channel.
Right.
In fact, if you just put W6 GPS in the search window in YouTube, and you'll go to my channel, and I have how to set them all up, how to use both the open spot, the Zum spot, and primarily they're tutorials for people to use how to use the Kenwood THD74.
Right.
This radio right here, it is a fantastic radio. There's a lot of functions in there. A lot of, besides the D Star, this is a tri-band, and this one has 220, 440, and 2 meters. It has APRS right now. I've got APRS going on right here. You can go to a list. Here's some of my stations that are receiving me, or that I'm receiving from them. So you got a whole lot of features here. It's 5 watts.
Right.
Let's see. I'm trying to think. It also, I can't show you right now, but it also is a shortwave receiver. And in the ham bands, it has an IF filtering when you use it in conjunction with their ARPC 74. I believe that's what it is. The cat just ran by here, so he's kind of freaking out. But anyway, what you can actually do is you can use this as a spotter for HF, kind of listen to what's going on. Let's see.
Mike's asking, can you, since you mentioned you do travel, can you take it out, the hotspot out in the car and pick up Wi-Fi? I've heard people do that. Use your phone as a hotspot. Sure.
And I don't have it as a prop, but I do have a mobile hotspot Verizon that I use primarily for ham radio and maybe with my computer. Some phones have tethering, some plans have free, but yes, you could take you could take a mobile phone, just like this, turn it on. The only problem is you may get cut off if somebody calls in. So so if you have a Verizon, like a Verizon or a Sprint or a plan that has everything in there, typically for $20 more a month, you can have yourself a hotspot and a way for your computer to work too.
Right, that's great. Our buddy Bob in here says, "Dang it, quit talking about the HT I dream to own." Well, that's what we're here for, Bob. We want to entice you, of course. And Robert says he uses the Zoom spot with Bluetooth and Blue DV on Android. So
I do have one of those too, and it works very, very well. So there's a lot of capabilities, okay, that you can go to.
Right. So using that radio, we talked about APRS and your newest endeavor, which I think is just super fun. And I'm gonna just bear with me one quick second here. Don and I were talking about as you mentioned, you're home and doing more things. And so your latest experiment is kind of fun. And that's what we're going to lead into for our next kind of part of our topic of conversation. Do you want to give a little information, and then we have a video to share?
Sure. So what guys were saying, hey, they were asking me about some APRS questions and things like that. So what I did was, they said, well, what about the ISS? Because there was a lot of, with SpaceX and all that going on. So what I basically did is I came up with a configuration on how to set up your D74 for ISS packet operations. And so, anyway, if you go to my YouTube channel again, there's a 2-part series. The first part, there's actually a link to where you can download this configuration and import it in your D74.
Cool.
And so all of a sudden I started doing this, and I kind of was playing around, and I just kind of said something on our Facebook page on our D74. And all of a sudden everybody was coming out of the woodworks. And so I was bringing in all sorts of trinkets and things like this. And let me just talk a little bit, just real quick. I have worked the space station on the Ducky, the factory duck. it's going to be difficult, but you can actually do it. So
Right.
I ended up getting a few test vehicles. And so I got a diamond antenna. This, I know it's hard to see, but it's a 5-element monoband beam, costs like $59, and it did a fantastic job. The only thing is holding it for 10 minutes. It does get kind of heavy. So
Right.
hang on, Katie. Let me
Right.
let me get rid of this. And
I'm hanging.
And
Gary and Kathy just piped in on their comments. Happy 50th wedding anniversary, you guys. That's awesome. Okay, back to Don.
All right, so this is another one. This right here is the
it's got to be an arrow.
It is an arrow. Thank you.
Yep.
And what's nice about this, built in the handle, is a duplexer.
Right.
So what you can do is, I just happen to have one here. Now I have not done voice operations on satellite. That's the next thing I'm going to do. But with this, with a D72, it's got a lot of it has APRS functions in it, of course, but it is a duplex handy talkie, so you can actually transmit on one band and listen to yourself on the other. And with one cable, you just plug it into the radio, and you're good to go.
Neat.
But I know that I don't like to put anybody's down, so I'm not. There are pros and cons to each of these antennas.
Sure.
But what I found, what I like to use in the field is the elk antenna dual band log periodic. It's not a Yagi, it's actually a log periodic.
Neat.
And this is lightweight. It's kind of funny about the PVC pipe here, but what I found is you can make it a little adapter for a tripod very, very, very easy. If a beam or a log periodic isn't suitable, then I tried these. These are Signal Sticks. They're out of Utah. They're really lightweight. They do a great job. But what I have found, probably the best mobile antenna within reasonable length, about 29 inches, is it's the Diamond SRH 770S.
Right.
And it is it's like 29 inches long. It's not a tri-bander, doesn't have 220, but for space ISS, it works really good.
Yeah.
So what I did is I got everybody all excited about this configuration. And so if you want to go ahead and roll the video, the first video we're not going to show. You can go to that because it's kind of boring setup stuff. So then I actually go out into the field and actually do some operations, and we're going to kind of listen and we're going to talk while this is rolling.
All right. So, and just so everybody knows, if you look in the video description, some of the antennas that Don's been talking about, I've already put links to those, so you can easily just click on them and check them out on the website. But let's see if everything rolls the way it should.
Okay, this is Don W6 GPS, and this is part 2 of how to work the ISS stations using APRS. And so the equipment I'm going to be using today is, of course, my Kenwood D74, and it's set for the configuration that I have on my YouTube channel. And I am using the Elk dual band log periodic.
Whoop. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Antenna, lightweight. And I'm going to have to make a confession at this time.
Okay. And, you're wearing the same shirt?
That. Right now. And I didn't have, I had my camera set up so the microphone's on the camera, and I had this expensive lapel mic. So you're just getting the audio off the camera, and that's why it's going to not sound as good. So anyway, carry on.
Well, all right. Hopefully actually, I don't know if me changing the volume here affects anything for you guys, but please let me know if you're having any issues.
And for my spotting tool, I'm using the ISS detector. And what's nice about this is a little bit better now. Get all the information on the birds that I want to be tracking. And it has a mode called radar, and it shows you the azimuth and the elevation in real time. So fortunately, we're going to have a really good pass today because it's going to be almost a 90-degree overhead.
Wow.
So it's going to be real long, almost 11 minutes. And we'll be starting here in just a moment. In fact, the duration is 10 minutes and 52 seconds. So just a couple things to let you know on the D74, and this is very awkward doing this all by yourself, is I basically have it all ready to go. And when I'm ready to send a beacon, you may not be able to see this because when things start happening, it happens pretty quick. But what I'll be doing is I will actually hit beacon, and you'll get a beacon out. And the setting that I use to in menu 507 is detect data. And so the one thing that you don't want to do is just keep on sending a beacon and beacon and beacon. You want to listen, wait for activity. When there's a quiet time, then you send a beacon. If there's a lot of activity, because of the setting in the detect data, you can actually hit beacon and it will wait until the packets are cleared, and then it'll make a transmission. So you're not stepping on people. So anyway, we want to kind of make that clear. So now we got everything ready to go. All we have to do is wait for the ISS station to show up.
I just want to ask a quick question. So the antenna that you're using here now, that's the elk that you showed earlier?
It is.
The log.
Yes.
So that's the log periodic.
It is.
Okay. And we just had another quick question. And I was going to ask, what was the app that you showed that you used to track the beacon, you said?
Yeah. I want you to go ahead and go to full screen on me now.
Okay.
And what I will do is I will show you. It is called the ISS detector right here.
Okay.
It is a free app, but for a couple bucks more, you can add other satellites. And so it also will show you. It will. I know that I love the green screen effect here, but
Yeah.
it'll also show you what times the AOS and the LOS is, and the maximum angle, and if the ISS is going to be visible. So
okay.
And so what you do is you just when you select a sighting that's coming up, you can kind of get an idea by going to radar. And radar basically I just lay the phone down and it's actually pretty accurate. It's not like you got to be within 1 or 2 degrees of this. It's kind of the general area,
Right.
And then as it is moving right along that axis there, what it does is it will tell you what the elevation is, and you see that this other circle right here. It's kind of hard to do this backwards, but anyway, right there, what that does is that tells you what the maximum elevation is. So if you want to scroll the video up just a little bit into where we're actually doing this.
Okay.
Yeah, so we talk about it right there, and we're kind of waiting. And go ahead and play that.
All right, let's let it queue up here.
Yeah.
Do-do-do.
And while that's
Is that about right?
Go. That's about right.
We'll give it a whale. We'll give it a whirl here. Oh wow!
Yeah, it's nice and loud. So you got all this activity going. You have all this activity going on. Now I'm going to send a beacon. Okay, so what I've done is I programmed my PF key for squelch, and I'm going ahead and quiet that out. All right, you can scroll up a little bit more.
Okay.
Anyway, you kind of get the idea.
Let's go a little bit further.
Yeah.
How does that look about there?
Yeah.
Oh, we'll see what happens. We'll click it.
See what happens. All right, so you can hear the activity, and you can hear what's going on because I'm using the open squelch method, but the radio is allowed to transmit because of the setting. Go ahead and turn me down. All right. Now, if you want to scroll that, we kind of get the idea. You're pointing it, and go ahead and scroll it. Keep on going. keep on going, and keep on going, keep on going. And okay, now back up right here. Back
Okay,
up.
so when you're
Yeah, so I'm actually showing you what happened, what we picked up.
all right, perfect. Oh, good.
All right.
Yep.
Big thing is,
all right.
Did we make it to the International Space Station? I mean, did our little 5-watt radio bounce a packet hundreds of miles up, comes down, and did somebody pick it up? So we have a list of stations, a pretty good sized list.
There it goes.
We also have one from Mexico, and we also got the PSAT satellite. All right, just hold it right there.
Okay, perfect.
All right, so that's enough. That's enough of me in the studio there. But the ISS has a 5-watt radio, and I think 200 miles whizzing at 4 miles a second, and you're picking this up. That's what the fascination. That's what the magic is all about. But what's real magic is to have a 350 milliwatt radio in space, and a little PSAT. The little PSAT is about the size of my phone with 3 phones. It's just like a they make it look like a MFJ analyzer box,
Yeah.
All right, so Bob Berninga and his crew at the Naval Academy have put these up. There's one that's been up there since 1990,
Wow.
NO44. The batteries died, so it's only active during the sunlight passes.
Okay.
But it's fascinating that the same settings you would use for the ISS, you can actually pick up the PSAT or the other APRS enabled satellites. And I was one day I had a ISS pass to the west and a PSAT pass to the east, and I was going back and forth, and I picked them both up, And so to me, that's what the fascination is. The fascination is going out, widgeting your stuff, and it's kind of like going fishing. It's kind of fishing for DX. It's kind of, you just don't know. You just don't know.
That's like the ultimate DX, though.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and so anyway, that's kind of what we've got. Just this huge buzz of activity of all these people going out and getting antennas and setting up their Kenwood radio to do this APRS thing to the satellite. And what you do is, if you think you made it to the satellite, you go to ariss.net. And let me back up. Let me just.
No, sorry, I didn't expect it to do that to me. Sorry.
All right. So
that's
anyway,
live television for you.
That's right. So if you go to ariss.net, there's a list, and it shows if you actually made it, digipeated. That's kind of the thing, is to digipeat yourself. But
I think this is one.
Yeah. So that's where the excitement is. Yeah. And so there's the stations that made it. And if you click on that hyperlink, by clicking on that hyperlink, it'll take you to findyou.com, and it'll show, excuse me, it'll show you, where I was at, and it shows that I digipeated, and if there's any messages passed. So the other thing that people like to do is you can pass a message. It's very, very difficult because you only have a small window.
Right.
So I have that in that configuration, a way to where if someone requests a message, again, if you're trying to do this all, and this satellite's ISS is moving so quick, you're trying to do this real quick, real fast. So you could set up auto reply, and my configuration on my YouTube channel explains all that. Right. So anyway, I have gotten messages from people, but I'm not a math or geometry person, but there is a picture of that shows the footprint of the ISS. It's going to be kind of a round yellow circle.
I think that's this one.
Yeah, and so that is like the footprint. And if you're within that circle, you have a line of sight view. So
Okay.
the whole object would be is to get a signal. Let's just say if I was at 180 degrees at the very bottom of the circle, and there was somebody at the very top
Yep.
transmitting, that technically that's correct. That would be the longest distance, and I've gotten distances up to 1,200 miles.
Wow.
Now I've also picked up stations when the loss of signal time has passed, and you get like some bending from troposphering or something where the ionosphere will shift the frequency, so you can actually go farther than that circle. So there's guys that been working 1,300 miles through APRS, and that's kind of the fun. If you get a 100-mile contact, that's fun. But if you get a 1,300-mile contact, then that means that both you and the station received are at the extreme opposite ends of each other, if that makes sense.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
now the other things that affect the ISS is the orientation of the antennas on the bird itself. Now that blue dot is where I'm located.
Okay.
And that yellow line is where you can actually see the satellite or the ISS.
Right.
And then so as soon as that circle starts coming in, and of course the radar mode in that app tells you that, then you can make a contact. So that green circle, is there is the footprint of the ISS.
Okay.
So that's what the fun's all about. And there are far more better experts than me. But this is how I've always done a video. The first day when I got my D72 was at Huntsville in 2016.
Oh.
And so I played around. I had no idea about D-Star. But I was stumbling through it because I didn't read the manual, and it has a different kind of no. But I finally
read the manual. Who does that?
I finally pushed a button on there, and it went to the nearest repeater in Mentone. And so I was able to get on D-Star there. And so then Mark from the Atlanta store, he told me how to get on his hotspot. So I had it all working. But there was so much involved in learning this right out of the box, and that's with any radio. But because I've been using Kenwood radios since Howdy Doody back in my college days, the interface is very familiar.
Okay.
It's very, very familiar. I would say the same thing if I had if you gave me an ICOM D-Star radio, I would be thumbling through it. Not that there's anything wrong with the radio. It's just I'm not used to the way ICOM does their interface.
Right.
And so I was getting people saying that were ICOM D-Star users, and they got this radio, that it was complex. It's not that it was complex. It's just that it was just a different type of interface, and people have to understand it. But because I was getting the same kind of questions, the same kind of comments from people, I set up my tutorial videos, making mistakes, and I would just not edit them out. I would just keep the mistakes in there.
Right.
So that's where I enjoy it, and there's nothing more exciting than from someone to send me an email and say, "Hey Don, by the way, the email is w6gps@yahoo.com." Right. But I'll have people out of the blue just say, "Don, you helped me so much with your videos to help me get through this," and it is a challenge. Any new radio, I don't care who it is, any new radio is going to be a challenge, especially if you're brand new to it. Right. And so you have the newness of a radio, you have the newness of what the radio does. You don't quite understand how the D-Star works. I think probably the best video that I get so many compliments on it's called D-Star Hangman. And so basically we play the game Hangman, and it has to do with the UR call fields. And I explained that UR call is not your call, and it's something else. And so, with the help of my friend Terry N8LN up north, he gave me some really good pointers. And so I passed that on I passed that along, and so I could replicate Elmering people using the YouTube channel.
Right.
Um, I'm not looking for making bunches of money on it. I'm not looking for notoriety. I have no ego. All I know is I enjoy being on D Star so much that I want people to have the same experience.
Right.
And when you get a new radio, uh, you can have just a total mental block, and then you just want to give up. And there's times where I just had to put the radio down because
Yep.
it was just too much,
Right.
and especially new concepts. Man, when I went through Air Force electronics, I knew just about everything, but there was something about transformers that I just could not get it. It was just one of those things I just couldn't. I almost flunked out, and it was pretty basic stuff. But the transformers, something about it,
Yeah.
it was just hard to get. So and X of L and X of C, frequency, resonant frequency, so there's certain concepts that you just can't quite
Cool.
get.
It's like, when you're especially for the extra exam, I remember, it reminded me because I just saw that my husband just popped up. Hi. And, but we were there was a group of us, I think there was about a half a dozen of us in our class that he was teaching, as well as another, local ham WA7LM. And, there was one concept in particular that we just nobody could get it. We were just all like scratching our heads and couldn't figure it out. And of course, both of those guys are electrical engineers. So for them, it just was like, natural to understand it. And it becomes frustrating when you're trying something and all of a sudden somebody came up with a suggestion that was kind of sort of off the wall, but you know what, it worked. And we all finally remembered how to deal with it. I wish at the moment, I can't remember what it was, but I find the same thing with the radio. I've been playing around with the FT70, and I mentioned this to somebody the other day on one of the videos that I was playing around with it so much I've goofed up one of the settings along with my zoom spot. So so now I'm back to learning again, but that's part of the fun is, and it's okay to say nobody gets it right the first time. We weren't born with this knowledge. We weren't born with ham radios programmed into our brain. It just takes time to figure these out. But what's really nice is when there's folks like yourself out there, and Josh and Jason and Mike. I mean, there's so many YouTubers out there now that provide really helpful and instructional videos because, they went through the process of learning also and sharing that. And that's what I like about, watching your stuff. Cause it's, in the Hangman video, I started watching, but then I got sidetracked by watching this APRS, but it's kind of neat to see, you could just throw all this stuff in the back of your car, set up in a parking lot. And with, what'd you say those watts were? It was like, I mean, so ridiculously small and work in the ISS as it goes overhead. That's just,
ISS is 5 watts,
yeah.
and a PSAT, or the brick sats, or what they call them, that's 350 milliwatts. I mean, that's a third of a watt.
Right. Yeah, Ray just popped the UR. He said it's like entering the phone number for who you want to talk to, and you can use the call sign for direct routing or the commands that control reflectors.
That's
So,
exactly right. And I'll be honest, when I was kicking around all this D Star stuff, maybe 8 or 9 years ago, uh, it was so foreign. I just gave up. And
yeah,
and and so basically what I try to tell people is, you tell the radio what to do in the UR call field, and then when you send the radio to that reflector or that
mhm,
repeater, then what do you want to do? Do you want to listen to the reflector that's attached to that repeater, or do
yep,
you want to make a local call? And so I explained that in that D Star Hangman. But once I got that, it was like, well, why are people hung up on this?
mhm,
And then I kind of put myself down, and I said, well, I was hung up too, because it was
right,
just something so foreign,
right,
and I gave up. I had a couple D Star radios long before the Kenwood radios showed up, and I just gave up because it was just too complex,
yeah.
it wasn't complex. It was just I just didn't quite get it.
Right. Yeah, it's a whole new way of doing something, and you just gotta take the time and figure it out. And a lot of times people just wanna, I always say I'm a bit more of an operator or appliance operator. I want to turn on my radio and just get on and start talking to people. But if you're working with a new one, you've got to pull out the manual. You go to YouTube to see what other people have done. I found, you type in your search, okay, what happens when, or just FT70 and blah, and all of a sudden there's a bunch of videos and ideas, and it's just because somebody else went through the same thing. So it's really
and
great.
one day when I was a couple of weeks ago here, I've had this radio since 2016, and I just didn't realize it there. But if you want to run the radio open squelch, you hit the function button, you hit squelch, and then you open it up. And you open it. Well, I'm on D star, but you open it up. And then if you push the enter button, then what happens is that whatever that squelch level will stay. Well, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
So
So 4 years later, you got it.
So I'm still discovering stuff. And I just want to say, if you're straddling to get into D star, besides the D star, besides the shortwave receiver, besides the FM receiver, besides 220, it has a GPS function. You can actually use this to put down breadcrumbs and mark waypoints. So there's a GPS function in here.
Wow.
Let's see. There's APRS. So it's like a whole bunch of stuff that's going on here. And yes, it's going to be complex because there's a lot of stuff in here.
Right.
So, and if you say, hey, I definitely want to be into satellites, voice satellites, APRS, D-Star is okay. Then the D72 is what I recommend.
Right.
And it's a very, very doable radio. It has GPS functions in it, APRS, a duplex dual band. So it does have a wide receiver, but it's not like the 74. So
right.
So and they're about the same price. The D74 is just a little bit more. So
right.
So if a person gets one of these radios and they're kind of playing around with it and they're all hung up, they can go to my YouTube channel. Then if you're really stuck, I'm pretty good about emailing, looking at my emails and stuff like that. And so
you're a great Elmer, that's for sure. And and that's one of the great things about ham radio is that there's so many folks that are just there willing to help. And I certainly appreciate you coming on the show today so that we can talk about your latest things. And
I got free lunches from here to Japan. I have a place to stay. The people say, man, if you're ever up here in so-and-so, if you're up in so-and-so, up in Alaska, I've got a free place to stay in Alaska. I got people down in South America because it's just great. It's just great and very fulfilling to help people out because somebody helped me. My Elmer Bruce, W6SFG in Lynchburg, Virginia, him and I are that's what built our friendship. He was my supervisor at work. But as soon as we talked ham radio and I was interested, he helped me get my ham radio license. And he's like my other brother too. So he's a great guy to have as a friend. That's cool. So I've built bridges and I've built bonds with people just because I'm helping them out. So
that's great. Well, thank you for all you do for ham radio. And thank you for joining us here on Shack Chat today. It's been a lot of fun. And again, I've posted the link to Don's website. If you just go to, or his YouTube page, just Google his call sign, W6GPS. And I've shown you here too, and I'll put it up here again for a last minute, W6GPS. And of course, if you're, as a reminder, if you're with us here on YouTube today, if you haven't done so already, please do hit that thumbs up button and hit subscribe so that you're on top of things when we put out a new video for you. And on Facebook, please do give us a like and a share. Also, because of course, sharing is caring, as we always say.
And I'm going to put a plug out right now. I'm on 30 Alpha. If anybody wants to give me a call when we sign off here, I'll be monitoring 30 Alpha.
Great.
And one more thing that I do want to get out on hotspots, no matter the hotspot is, please don't have your hotspot just linked and you're not using it. So when you're done, unlink it, because there's only so many people that can get on. So that's just
Oh,
something I wanted to mention. I should have mentioned earlier. So
that's
anyway,
good to know.
when we sign off here, I'll be on 30 Alpha till probably maybe the top of the hour, just listening in if anybody wants to give me a call.
Great.
So
Well, super. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a lot of fun. And thank you to all of you out there around the world who've been watching and participating in the live chat. And for those of you that watch after the fact, thank you so much for choosing to watch the show. We appreciate you so very much. And just as a quick final note, if you've been to our website, at the top of our page, we have a new banner up just to let everyone know that Superfest, which normally takes place at the end of September at our Milwaukee HRO store, that event has been canceled for this year, but hopefully, fingers crossed, it'll be back on and better for 2021. And with that, I'm going to say have a great weekend, everybody, and keep an eye out for Don out there on D-Star as well as on YouTube. And if you have any shopping needs based on what you saw here today, we've got links in the descriptions. And of course, you can call any of our stores to ask any questions. So thank you again for joining us, Don Arnold, W6GPS, and I'm Katie, WY7YL73. Everybody, have a great weekend and stay radioactive.